Welcome everybody to the next edition of Book Scoop. Why can I never get that right?
You got it all out though.
I'm Priscilla, and we thought we'd add a little bit about what we're currently reading, as well as the new books we're going to feature. So I just finished Nettle and Bone by T. Kingsolver, a fractured feminist fairy tale that even if you hate fantasy, you should read. It's a great book, and I'm currently reading, I don't have a copy of it, Inciting Joy by Ross Gay, which are the most fantastic essays ever. The man is brilliant, and he can write well. That's all I got to say.
So I have two picture books that we're doing in some of our younger book clubs. This one is for Family Book Club. It's called Never Play Music Right Next to the Zoo. It's by John Lithgow, who you might know as an actor, but he's written several books and songs also. And it comes with a CD in the back of it too. It's not processed yet, but this one will be available soon in the library. And then the other book is a beautiful book called What If by Samantha Berger. It helps with your imagination and creativity, and it's a fantastic book.
And I have recently read Finding Langston for one of our book clubs, and it was a beautiful start of a journey of discovery of Langston Hughes' poetry, of which I currently have like 6 or 7 books.
So the new books that just came out that we're featuring were all published in February, and some of them weren't published till like the very last day of February, so it was a quick read here. But I'm going to be talking about an adult nonfiction book by Catherine May, Enchantment.
Well, mine was actually published the last day of January, but I figure it's close enough. This is called Promise Boys by Nick Brooks. It's a young adult novel.
Okay, and I will talk about The Chinese Groove by Catherine Ma, adult fiction, and a book called Only Pieces by Ed Tello. And I am really naughty here because this book has been published in September, but it has never gone out yet. And I think it deserves attention.
Right?
All right. So Enchantment, Awakening Wonder in an Anxious Age, is by Catherine May. And if you read Wintering, The Power of Rest and Retreat in Difficult Times by Catherine May, you've already heard how much I love that book, and I would not be surprised that I love this one too. If you did not read Wintering, you can still read Enchantment. It's not required, but if you did not read Wintering, you better do that. That's all I have to say. Wintering came out end of 2020, beginning of 2021, and like if you were like me, you were not having a good time then, and that book was just what I needed at that time, because it said, hey, it's okay to withdraw from life for a little bit and give yourself rest. Enchantment is the same idea. It's like the book for now, because what she talks about is how coming out of the pandemic, she felt, and she uses the word discombobulated. She felt discombobulated. And like nothing that she had done before to give herself direction and a sense of place worked. And so in Catherine May's style, she explores her life, she explores her childhood, she explores history, she explores, astronomy, she brings in nature, walking, and just weaves it all together in how you find your way through anxiety and through times that you don't feel grounded anymore, and how to live, and you're trying to find a new way, and with beautiful language and beautiful stories, and I'm just amazed by her intellect. I'm like. Did she look that up? She's like talking about meteor showers that happened in 1880 and quoting the newspapers. And I'm like, did she just know that? Or is she just the most well-read human being there ever was? She talks about swimming in the ocean and how she always did swimming in the ocean, and how it helped her anxiety, and how in the pandemic she became afraid of doing that, and how and just like how she lost her way and how she finds it through all these different methods. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. She's a beautiful, beautiful writer, and it helped me rediscover wonder, because I think that's what we need. You know, we need to be able to rediscover the feeling of awe, and the book in itself is awesome. So yeah.
I think maybe you should have gone after me. This is none of that. So this young adult novel, well, first of all, it's considered a high-low book. So high interest, but the reading level is not super high. So it's accessible for lots of people. It's easier to read than a typical book. But you start with the book, and it starts with the principal has been murdered at this all-boys Urban Promise Prep School is the name of it. And 3 boys are suspects. And they take one boy at a time, and it's very short pages, short chapters, short phrases. Halfway through, I was like, wow, I'm really like far into this book, and I didn't even dawn on me that it was because it was easy to read, because it was so like I was gripped. I wanted to see what happened. So we start with one boy, and it's all the people in school and the community talking about him. And then we hear his story, what happened the day before the murder, and then more. And then it does the same thing for all 3 boys. And you realize that, you know, the idea of this prep school is good, that, you know, they would be very disciplined and that they're, you know, doing all the right things. But then you get the idea that maybe that's not exactly what's been going on behind the scenes. And of course, you know, this isn't set in Washington, D.C., and Washington, D.C. schools are, you know, a little different than Homer.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that's fascinating to read this too, because you get a different perspective of different racial things, gangs, drugs, families, and the situations that they have to live in, and the students and what they have to live in. It's a bit of a mystery. There's twists and turns in it. I would highly suggest it for anyone who's young adult age. It's a very good book.
Well, then I will start with Only Pieces by Ed Tello, which is also a high-low book. And I would like to say that low is for low difficulty, or you know, it's for reluctant readers. And this is a story that's written in verse, and which makes it very accessible. And it's like, you know, a teenager, you know, often to adults, they're not very talkative. So it uses short phrases and not a lot of detail, but you get the gist real quick. And there's also poems in here, because the protagonist writes poetry. And it's a beautiful use of language. At no time do you think, oh, this is because it is a high-low book. The language is very craftily used, and just sounds like someone who doesn't really want to talk but talks anyways. The protagonist lives with his mother and goes to school, still high school, and he has discovered he is a homosexual. He has told his mother, who does not want him to tell anybody else. Definitely not his father, who joins the family later in the story, because his dad is very traditional and macho, and she thinks that will not be a good idea. So it tells his discovery of you know, what does it mean being a homosexual? What does it mean for his friendships? What does it mean for his relationship with his mom and dad? And it's sensitive and emotional, and I would like to invite everyone to find out how he does it. And The Chinese Groove by Catherine Ma is about, it's also a discovery. It's about a young man who moves from China to the United States as a teenager still, because his father has promised his mother when she died that he would send their boy to the United States for a better chance of life, because their family is in a very low esteem where they live. So they want to give their boy a better chance. And The Chinese Groove is the idea that this is not how the book says it, this is how I say it. Wherever you go, if you meet someone Chinese, they will welcome you and they will help you and they will give you money because, you know, there's a relationship. You're both Chinese. It doesn't quite work that way. But during the book, you find out there's maybe a human groove that works. So it's not just for Chinese. It's sort of comical. This young man who looks at the United States with a Chinese perspective, the book has a lot of twists and turns that you don't see coming. It's a serious topic because, you know, racism passes by too, but it's not a heavy book. It's you know, it leaves you feeling uplifted, and the twists and turns help in you know, in wanting to know how it ends. So, The Chinese Groove by Catherine Ma.
Great. So a lot of good stuff, new stuff to read, and more coming out this month. So be sure to check the library website and Facebook, stop by and see our new books, and really consider picking up one of these. So thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye.